We have a good number of people that are on time and we're 2 minutes into it. So do you want to go ahead and get started?
Yep, that sounds great. We can go ahead and get started. Thanks everyone for joining us. I'm Charlene Kalirgas. I'm an account executive here at Marquee 360. And then I also have Allison Dewey, who is a customer success manager. She'll be the one doing the presentation for you guys today. But if you have any questions following the session, feel free to reach out to either one of us. So a quick overview on how we'll structure today's session. I'll give a quick overview of Marquee 360 and the work we do here for anyone who is new or unfamiliar before diving into Rhea, our change management agent, and demonstrating how you guys can apply it to your daily work. So a little bit about Marquee 360. We are a Microsoft Gold partner for work management and M365 cloud solutions. And all that means is that we've been recognized by Microsoft as a trusted partner to work side by side with their team in supporting their customers throughout their Microsoft investment. We focus our work on M365 applications such as Planner and Teams, as well as the Power Platform, leveraging tools like Power Apps, Power BI, and Power Automate. And our founders actually came from Microsoft, so they have been in the work management space for over 20 years and seen all different iterations of Microsoft work management tools, everything from Project Server to Project Online, and more recently, Project for the Web and Planner. We focus our work here on 3 areas for success, working very closely with the Microsoft technology and product teams during their development processes to ensure that we're up to date with the latest technologies and advancements to ensure our customers receive those updates quickly and effectively. The Power Platform is where Microsoft is focusing a lot of their new technology and upgrades to give you those low code, no code solutions and allow you to take some development into your own internal teams rather than having to rely on custom coding. And we act as your trusted advisor throughout your work management journey by providing in-depth requirement sessions, implementation and design support, and then as well as post-deployment, supporting your team with training, workshops, and hypercare, anything that you guys need to ensure you're successful.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Charlene. So next we're going to be focusing on our Copilot agent, Rhea. Basically, I'm going to talk through just some of the mechanics of how she works, or I should say, how it works, and what would be put in place on your end in the event this was something you were interested in adding to your tool set. So, oh, too many clicks. I'm so sorry. So Rhea is configured by this. I'm going to do it this way. Just keeps wanting to go to that slide. All right, I'll just talk to how Rhea is configured. So Rhea relies on basically your trusted sources of knowledge. Rhea works best when that knowledge is either in the format of like a Word document, a PDF, or even other existing websites. So when we put Rhea into place, what we encourage is that you centralize your materials in either a SharePoint library or a Microsoft Team channels files. And so if you already have materials, those can go there. If you do not already have the materials, we have actually partnered with organizations to help them craft those materials. Plus, we have some standard user guides that are align with our PPM360 solution. So just to explain that a little bit more. So you'll see here, I'm in Teams right now, and I created a team basically called like a Work Management Center of Excellence. And in there, we have content. So what would that content need to be in the, given the concept of a change management and adoption agent? So assuming we are talking in the context of work management and project management, this really could be anything. But first of all, do you have any documents that detail, what are your standard operating practices, or what are the best practices that you want your project managers to kind of adhere to when they are managing work? Then another way that we have actually partnered with organizations is then mapping, creating a document that maps those policies, practices, guidance to the use of your tool. So the tool may be Planner, or some of you may already be PPM360 users. So that is another project management tool set that we offer. It basically accelerates the use of Planner. So we can create a document that helps people understand, this is the why we do it. And then with the tool, this is the how we can help support your adherence to that. So I have this team. I have some files, and Contoso is, if you've been with Microsoft for some time, you may have come across Contoso in other demonstrations or trainings. Contoso is a fictitious company. And so in here right now, we have basically it's courseware or a user guide for PMs that are using our PPM 360 tool. And this one focuses on resource management. Here is, for example, a guide that Contoso already had just regarding their PM project management standards. This would be another guide aimed more at the PMO, because in this situation, the PMOs have different responsibilities when it comes to resource management versus the PMs. And then you can also see down here, we have just some frequently asked questions about the tools. What's great about this is as this evolves, as you bring on additional functionalities, as more questions start to come up, these documents can be obviously updated, and then that basically Rhea's responses will then be considerate of those updates. So as I just shared, the fictitious company Contoso, and these are example of files that we have for this demonstration, but I'm hoping you can draw parallels with what you might do where you work. So then what Rhea is configured to do is kind of anticipate what topics might these individuals be asking of it. So as part of the deployment, we would talk about, what can we anticipate the end users potentially exploring as part of the change that's ahead, whether it's just let's start to put in some guidelines when it comes to managing projects, or we've just launched Planner, or we've added PPM 360. So those would be, examples of things that are happening that we need to support them. The topics in this case are going to be the frequently asked questions. So we're anticipating they're going to ask, how can I submit a project request? How do I go about managing resources? How would I go about monitoring effort? And then the customer would say, in addition to that, they're going to be asking us about their ideation practices. They're going to be asking us about our collaborative work management practices. So this is what we're anticipating is new to them, and they're going to need support on. And so then,
we have a couple questions in the chat.
Thank you. All right, let me scroll down. All right, so Darren, so control that a documentation follows a permission. Yes, it does. So Darren was asking if the response they get would basically be trimmed given their level of security to the documents in that team or that SharePoint site. You are correct. Is Rhea simply a name, or does it stand for something? So Aaron, you would have to remind me, but it really doesn't stand for any. Well, we did when we were looking into names, we were looking for names that did reflect support, guidance. So during that query, that's how Rhea came to be. She's actually it totally separate. That happens to be the name of my grandmother-in-law. So it was kind of funny that they landed on that without my input. All right, and so the way, any more questions? One more, yep. Can SQL Server database be used as the data source for Rhea? So no, not Rhea in their current state. Right now, Rhea is just using those repositories, so the SharePoint list, the SharePoint library, and any websites. And they can be public websites. One example I give is Microsoft Learn, right? So if we're focused on helping people understand Planner, we could have some of that knowledge actually be sourced by the Microsoft Learn site. Could we get Rhea to query SQL Server? Absolutely, because this is done within Copilot Studio, so we could certainly develop something custom to tap into something that maybe is not as easily maintained just through your SharePoint lists and libraries, or I'm sorry, your SharePoint libraries. Thanks for pausing me, Charlene. So again, so the way then Rhea works is using that generative AI. Rhea is going to attempt to match the end user prompts to those predefined topics, right? So I mentioned, one topic is we're anticipating the users are going to want to understand how to go about submitting a project request. And so that topic is already trained to pick up on phrases like project request, submit, new. Another one would be, we're anticipating they're going to want to understand Contoso, what is the ideation practices. And so they're anticipating words like ideate, practices, brainstorming, generate ideas. And so it'll do its best to figure out what topic is the end user really asking about. So attempts to match. If it can find the match, again, the responses are going to be generated from those topic defined trusted data sources. In the event there is no clear match, it's just going to consider them all, because we do say, this is your knowledge, Rhea. And so if it doesn't have that exact, prompt to topic match, that AI will kick in and try and pull up the most relevant response. So look at all those files in that team channel that I was showcasing earlier. The way individuals can engage with Rhea is either by navigating to Copilot using the browser, or within Teams, kind of the same way. So I'm going to pull up my Teams again. And so here on the left, I have Copilot. And you'll see that in addition to just, Microsoft's standard over here, we've added Rhea. And so now in the context of Teams, I can actually start chatting with Rhea. You'll see that Rhea is configured that it can suggest a couple of prompts to get people started. And I see we have a question. John is asking, is Rhea limited to responses based on provided documentation, or is it capable of creating documentation based on PM? So Rhea is not an agent that is going to create documentation based on the input. We do have another agent. It's different though. It's not a Copilot agent. It's an agent that relies on some Azure technology called Prodigy. Prodigy is part of our Planner Accelerator that I mentioned, PPM360. And while Prodigy doesn't necessarily create documentation, Prodigy can consider, let's say, our PPM tool captures charter information. And Praji can then be asked, can you develop or draft a business case based on whatever information we've already entered specific to that project? So probably not exactly what you're looking for in that moment, but it's another variation we have, and I do believe in the future we will be doing an overview, a webinar of that. Is Rhea contained within my tenant? Yes. So Rhea is deployed to your tenant, limited for use in your tenant, and also, again, we're using trusted knowledge sources. So a lot of time it will also only be considering, the files in the libraries that you specify, unless you do ask it to be expanded to include those third-party trusted sources, such as Microsoft Learn website. Okay. So what makes Rhea successful, though, it's not only the content, and it's not only also making sure those topics, are realistic and are going to capture as many of those prompts as possible. The prompts have to be well crafted. So when we do deploy this, there would be, we would need to communicate, perhaps do a quick lunch and learn about, how do you engage with Rhea? What Rhea needs to understand, and this is true of any, like if you're using ChatGPT or whatever, Gemini's out there, they need to understand what you're trying to do. So you need to be sure the prompt includes the goal, right? Like, I'm trying to understand our company practices. It probably helps to have some context. I'm a new employee. That's why I need help understanding the company practices. And any other specific information. Well, it's actually, I have an idea for a project. I don't know what the practice is because I'm new to the organization. And then how do you want the response? Do you want it in a table? Do you want it in a list format? Do you only want the first, 5 frequently asked questions? So again, it's going to be important that the end users understand that they need to craft, I'm a new Contoso employee with an idea for a project. Can you provide the steps I will need to take? Write it as a bulleted list. And with that, I will feed a few prompts to Rhea, just so you can kind of understand how it reacts. So I'm going to, let's see, how am I going to do this? I'm going to end this for now. And as I said, a well-crafted prompt. So I'm going to grab that from over here and we'll put it in here. Right. So I'm the new Contoso employee, and I've asked Rhea to give me a bulleted list of things I should do or be mindful of. You'll notice here, we always have that caveat that AI generated content may be incorrect. Hopefully, though, because we are feeding it what we know to be true and kind of, trying to capture and return based on topics, we should do pretty well here. So let's see, steps to submit a new project idea at Contoso. Already, I'm being told here, use the PPM360 intake, complete the form. And then it's letting me know, the type of information I'm going to be asked for. I'm being told that, hey, then my request is going to be scored and ranked. It is following a clear go, no go decision. And then if my idea is approved, further steps are going to be coordinated. So this is a little bit maybe more high level than I was expecting. But what's nice here is I know there's a process behind all of this, and I know what to anticipate when I go to use this PPM360 intake app. This is very similar to probably other experiences. What's nice is, where did this information come from? And then I have a link right here to the document. I was talking to another customer who said that a lot of their time is getting questions that are buried in these large documents that go over governance and how-tos. And so they see this as a great way of kind of providing that first level support, right? And also perhaps reducing the amount of questions that person is getting disrupted by via email. So there's that document that Rhea was referencing. All right, so let's see. Let's ask Rhea if there's any more detailed instructions on that PPM360 intake, right? Let's see what gets returned.
We do have a couple of questions to listen, maybe while
Sure.
this is loading.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, I have to scroll down. All right, what change management activities will it handle? Could you elaborate a little bit on that? All right, we'll circle back to that. Maybe you'd be more comfortable having a discussion at the end. This is all the art of prompt education. Yep. Do you provide any help with this in the form of prompt training documents with Rhea? That's great. So we actually have not as I mentioned, as part of the deployment that we would want to, whether it's communication or a lunch and learn at a high level, kind of go over that. There also is, again, Microsoft Learn has some resources, but in the event that the organization would do much better with having like a live instructor-led overview of that, we can certainly pull that into part of this deployment to kind of upskill the users on the use of this tool. And then absolutely, like once they know the basics, we could certainly include into the documentation, because part of this change management and adoption, we're trying to get them to adopt Rhea. So we would can absolutely include as part of those files an area on well-crafted prompts and even recommended prompts, right? I mentioned that right now down here, we have a couple, so this could be tailored to make sure that we are encouraging them to ask it questions that we're anticipating are areas that they may be confused on or may be struggling with. Yeah. So Rhea is meant more to address the outcomes of that change management exercise, like you said, going in. So, you would first need to figure out, okay, we're about to implement PPM 360. What is the impact on that? What are, how are we going to evaluate if we're successful? And figuring all that out. And when we realize that the biggest area of change is going to be, the biggest area of confusion is going to be, then developing those resources or mining those resources and putting them where Rhea can quickly surface that information as the users take on that change, if that makes sense. Okay. While we were waiting or having a discussion, Rhea did come back with some detailed instructions on using the PPM 360 intake app. So again, a nice overview of why it is in place. And then the step-by-step instructions, which is, navigating the solution, completing the form, the fact that there's going to be, again, that preliminary assessment. So a little bit more, and you see now we have it in a framework that's more, it's easier to digest with the numbers and whatnot. All right, so I've asked a couple of questions as if I'm a new employee. Let's pretend I'm actually a Contoso project manager. Let's see what information Rhea gives me. So again, I'm giving it context. I'm a Contoso project manager. How would I define my team using PPM360? Again, PPM360, it actually is a Power App that also includes some Power Automate flows, so a Power Platform solution that integrates with Planner. So if you're not familiar with that, our website has a lot of details on that, and we host events highlighting its capabilities quite frequently if you're not familiar. So here, Rhea has found, as far as defining my team, so I have to make sure first I have an approved project. I need to navigate to the resource tab. I need to go to the team members. So here I'm actually getting some click-by-click instructions. So that will help me. And then a repeat, and then a bunch of best practices. So that's great. I know we recently had a webinar about our resource management, and there is sometimes a question between what the difference is between engagement and assignments or efforts. So our documentation, because of perhaps those exercises we went through, we know that this is going to be something that our population is not really clear on, or maybe it's something that's new to them. So you can see that we've got that information buried in, all this data that we have, all that documentation that I don't want to have to sift through. But simply by asking Rhea the question, I can find out that, what is the definition of engagement, and why it's important, like where is that information used, as well as how that compares to effort. So Rhea can help, and then Rhea's breaking out the differences, and also has given me that link to the complete document in case I would like to learn more. I could continue this conversation asking about, what are the best practices then when it comes to updating effort. So this won't be so much tool centric. It might have to do with what the company has decided, right? So they're saying, hey, regular updates, ideally on a weekly basis, time tracking, what tools I can use to do that. And so I've been a kind of a general member of the organization. I've shown you some questions I might ask as a project manager. I showed you that in this demo environment, we have a lot in the repository for, in the context of resource management. So I've just said, hey, as a Contoso resource manager, how would I, let's say, set the capacity of our resources and define their working hours? And so here you can see it's given me steps, where I need to navigate in the tool, how I would go about populating all of that. And again, wrapping up with, what are the best practices moving forward? So again, we're trying to marry, the why with the how. I have two other examples just to show you a bit about how we can get it to format things, right? I said, how do I want the information returned? So in our solution, we have a report pack. So if I'm new and I'm like, well, what reports can help me evaluate resource availability? Please give me that, present it as a table. So we'll see how Rhea does. As I'm waiting for Rhea to organize itself, do I have any other questions? There we go. Okay, I see, John, your question. I'll get back to you in a moment. So let's see, how did Rhea do? So available reports. I got my column of report names, and I got a nice description for each of those, and then where that information came from. That was pretty nice. All right, John, let's see. Is Rhea able to summarize and provide information from the document repository that are more image-based, like PowerPoint? Yeah, so I did not have the best luck with the PowerPoint. I found that if I saved the PowerPoint in the format of a Word or a PDF, it did better. So that's still something that I'm in the process of evaluating, because even here at PPM360, when we provide training, typically our leave behind has been a PowerPoint presentation. To your point, that PowerPoint is very heavy with images, and Rhea does not have that OCR capability. So right now, I would say Rhea does best when we're working with Word documents and PDFs. Diane's going to ask something. While Diane's doing that, I'll just put in my last prompt. Again, just trying, so this was showcasing we can get Rhea to format things in a certain way. In this case, I'm asking Rhea, give me 3 frequently asked questions, because you can see that the responses so far have been pretty lengthy. That also depends on the level of detail in your documents. You know, these are pretty rich in text. I guess Rhea has decided I like things as a table. So here are the questions. Let me see. Could you generate this as a bulleted list, not a table? See what happens. Because I don't know what I'll get. I only know what the information is behind the scenes. All right, Rhea figures that one out. Let's see. Yeah, you know what? I don't know, Diane, if the OCR is a future option. I can definitely go see if there is any Copilot agent roadmap or articles that speak to that. Okay, so there we go. Rhea adjusted its presentation based more on what I was hoping for. Any other questions about what we are seeing Rhea do? And you'll see here, like, actually this prompt right now would likely not work given the files I have right now. This is not a topic that's been fully developed in the demo here, but you can see, like, it doesn't have to be about PPM 360, right? If you're using Planner, and you want to just, we're talking to a couple of companies where they're just getting into trying to encourage teams of people to use Planner to better organize group efforts, and then use Teams as part of that collaborative way of working. So we can certainly put information in here specific to the Planner tool. We can put information in here specific to Teams to shorten the development of that content. Again, directing the agent to use Microsoft Learn resources would be another avenue I would suggest looking at. I know I was talking to another customer where they already have a lot of document in a third-party document management system. It's not SharePoint or Teams. With Rhea in its current state, it cannot speak to that because there isn't a pre-existing API yet to talk to that system. So if you already have documentation somewhere else, I would say we should still have a conversation. We have a talented team of developers that might be able to, if there's an API, we might be able to tap into that. But right now, this is kind of I'll call it like our base solution, which would just simply involve documents within your SharePoint and team repositories. So if this was of interest to you, I certainly will continue to take questions. But what would be the next steps? Like if you wanted to pilot this, what would you need to do? So again, capture your policies, standards, practice, outcome of what you're anticipating as far as impacts and the action plans that you've defined. That could be documents you already have, but if you also needed someone to help facilitate discussions and kind of frame out those standards thoughtfully, that's something we can assist with. Then, if you have that documentation, create a Microsoft team to house that knowledge, or a SharePoint site, for example, perhaps a project management center of excellence. If you were partnered with Marquee on, adopting PPM360 or adopting Planner, we'll have a set of standard documentation that would be a leave behind for us to you. And so those could be put in there. And then we would implement, deploy Rhea. And if needed, because again, there may be specific areas that are going to be new, confusing, a challenge, we could then tailor Rhea to speak to what is specific to your organization's needs.